we're going to test this sucker to the breaking. There's things you can purchase and things you can build yourself, and what are the advantages of both? I'm excited to bring this to you guys and see what we got. It's going to be an exciting show, and I can't wait to show you what we're going to do with my fence line.
All right, Sean.
There's an intro right there. Breaking shit.
Man, what's happening, man? I know I saw some videos of you earlier today. You're out in the field every day now. Look, what are you in a hotel?
I'm in a fancy ass hotel, right? It's my third hotel this week, and I still got one more to go before the week's end over. It's a grind.
Man.
Yeah.
Where's the motorhome?
Yeah, so this trip I didn't bring it because, well, truth be told, the new badass war wagon's not built out yet, right? So you probably people saw some pictures of a video on TikTok of the big ass war wagon we're gonna build out. I hadn't even started it. So when I get back, I'm gonna start that, and hopefully my next trip in June. I don't know, what are we in June now? I don't know. July, yeah. The next one.
I got
it. And I'll take it wherever I'm going. I don't know where I'm going next, Brian.
People are always saying, Brian, I don't know how you do it. And I'm always saying, I don't know how Sean does it. I go, I'm going to stop when Sean stops.
I say that shit all the time. As soon as I feel like I'm doing good, I look at what you're doing. I'm like, fuck, I'm barely even in the game, Brian.
You pioneered this. So I don't care what anybody says. This hands-on training, you pioneered it. You literally are the reasoning behind almost everything I'm doing out here on the West Coast for hands-on stuff. I mean, I'll never be able to take it to the level you take it, but I'm going to do my best to try.
But FWA can take that to real deal, real training, real job sites, real results with real fencers, right? I think it's a big deal. We need that. I think it's important to add that piece into our industry. Just an additional training, a resource where we're out there grinding. Today, I literally was hand digging holes next to the dudes who's been digging for all of his life. And just getting after it. Like there's no easy button. Like we had rocks, we had cable lines, we had power lines, we had gas lines. Hell, yesterday we put the fucking holes in the wrong house. Okay, this shit happens. Like the guy says, this is where we're building a fence. We literally dig all the holes, and the superintendent shows up and says, "Why are you guys here?" Well, I don't know what the contract says. And the foreman's like, "No, right here." And then he had reversed the numbers, and sure as shit, we had dug all the holes in the wrong house.
Yeah, I've been there. We've all been there. Well, I mean, I've been there.
What training's about. What do you do?
Yeah. I don't know, man. You just you kick some dirt in the holes and you move over and hope that neighbor don't come home before you're done, I guess, right?
Oh man, yeah, that's exactly what happened, right? And then we had to recover and still get the job done, even though we were an hour and a half into training at the wrong day.
But that's what this training's about. I mean, it's real life, real circumstances, real issues, real problems. Real stuff is not done inside of a classroom, because you can't simulate real problems, because we couldn't even predict what's going to go wrong on a project if we wanted to.
Man. When I show up, I can't make this up. Wrong material or the wrong design, or hell, sometimes like we're building a fence that we shouldn't even be building, right? Yeah. Or material defects. I can think of in the last 2 weeks, 2 training days where the supplier missed the mark. They missed the mark. Material not going together, holes not right, pickets not locking together, right? And I'm not going to pick on any of the supplier, but the reality of it is this is the shit we deal with. So what do we do when that happens out there? Was it ideal? No. I had to work with them like, all right, this does not fit. This is not going. Yeah. This is going to happen to you when I'm not here. Yeah. So here's a suggestion. Here's how we could probably fix it. And then the next thing we do is call the supplier and say unacceptable. Yeah. Like you can't do that to these guys again. We had some panels today where the rails wouldn't fit, and what would take 2 to 5 minutes was taking 15 to 25 minutes because it didn't fit. You add that up on 35 panels.
Yep.
That's a lot of money on the table that got lost because of a manufacturing tolerance defect, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Shouldn't go together like that, right? Yeah. So. End of story.
And that's interesting. I mean, I know we're going to talk about antitrust stuff, but you and I chat about this all the time. We go on and on about the problems that are out there, that happened on the jobs before. We're doing our best to try to predict, but we can't find. We just can't. We can't find every problem that's going to happen before the crews get out there. So the training you're doing and the training I've watched you do, even before we started talking, watching your videos and stuff, before we even knew each other. It inspired me to do what we're doing out here, and realizing even with the manufacturers are bringing products and stuff in for the training that we are doing in the, you know, we have a mix of classroom with the hands-on out here. I'm like, hey, that's a great system. Let's go take it to the back and hook it up.
We need more of that because, you know, my capacity is only here. Our industry needs this much, right? Guys that have experiences. You guys have way more experience in chain link and iron than I ever will have in my entire career. I have no dimes in that part of the world. So I shouldn't be the one beating the drum and spearheading the training, but that's what you guys out. You can do it, right? So gate operators, I mean, absolutely. You guys have the capacity for that. The FWA team has the capacity for it. So run with it.
That's where I stopped though. Gate operators, chain link, and Ironman. I think I told you before, you give me 50 feet of vinyl fence and I will be on that for 3 weeks. The customer will be filing a complaint against the contractor's board. I'll never get paid for over 50 feet of fence. It would be a disaster. It would be a disaster.
And I'm the opposite. I don't want to mess with gate operators, and I don't want the high end, or would I say not high end. I don't want the commercial type projects, right? I mean, they sound cool, but I'd have to learn what you
I like them because, like you were saying, that extra 15 minutes a section over 30 sections, that's the difference between going from a day job to a 2-day job. And when you're bidding jobs that are only 2 or 3 days long, that extra day is the difference between you making money or breaking even. The extra second day is losing money. I can absorb a little bit of a hit on a larger job, you know, if something happens. So it's tough. It's even harder on small jobs to turn a profit if anything goes wrong. So your training is huge. It's huge.
Logistics are so important. There's a lot more to the residential world than just building fence. The logistics are almost just as important because of what you just said. If we miss the mark on any piece of that, you're going to take the 1-day job in 2 days and you've lost it.
Yeah, you're breaking even on the next day. Then you're losing money. I mean,
the potential to do another job. So even so just all being like, okay, I'm a labor covered. Yeah, but you weren't on another job making your margin on top of that job. So you killed a day. 250 days a year, approximately, roughly, you have in a year to work actually on a job site, you know, especially if you're working 4-day work weeks. If you lose one of those, that's a big deal. You start losing 1, 2, 3, 4 a month. Add that up.
I know we could go on for a week about this. Yeah, we're not here for that. We're here for you and I have been chatting about this, and we have pretty similar outlooks on this and opinions on the antitrust laws. And what started all this was us. You know, you have pretty good sized groups. You and I both manage pretty good sized groups, and we manage some groups together. And we get a lot of people that are upset, even on Facebook and LinkedIn and these other ones, when we have to delete a comment or we have to not approve comments, and we're talking about really nasty messages we'll get sometimes saying, why'd you do that? Why don't you let that through? This is not this isn't against the law, and this blah, blah, and it just goes on and on and on. So
I lost like 3 or 4 hours of my life last Sunday dealing with somebody who was so pissed off because of my stance on the antitrust. And I'm like, really, this is Sunday and I'm bantering back and forth. I'm dying. But I think we should have a conversation, because I think what we're doing is not explaining why and what the goal is, and it gets misunderstood. Like my bantering back and forth with this guy on Sunday, he was stuck on, is it or is it not illegal? And I was like, that's not completely the whole story of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes and no. That's where we get into and what can be interpreted as illegal. So
that's right.
Which sometimes interpretation is worse than the truth. So we got to be careful on that. So I think we kind of agree on that. So I was glad that I got to bring you on to discuss this. So I did some research on this. Beyond what I'm going to share some information. I'm going to bring Brian on here and have him explain it a little bit better. And then I want you and I to recap it. And kind of go over what we feel about this video afterwards. So I'm gonna bring Brian on. Tell me what I'm gonna bring Brian on. See what he thinks.
Brian too. All right, let's hear.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, it's Brian T. Fredrickson here from My Fence Life and also Las Vegas Fence. Today I'm coming to you on a subject that I think it hits all of us a little bit. If you're on social media at all and you post something in one of our groups or one of our pages, or maybe you're just having a conversation with somebody, or you're at a meeting or at a trade show or association meeting, whatever it happens to be, and somebody says, whoa, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about pricing. And I wanted to just dive into antitrust a little bit. And by no means am I an expert in this. And this is not legal advice. As you can see, we always advise that you go consult with a legal professional. This is basically just my opinion, solely based off information that's been available to me throughout the years. And it's a very valuable very valuable thing for you to know. The Sherman Antitrust Act, it was enacted in 1890 by U.S. Congress, as you can see on the screen here. And the concern at the time was the monopolies and the companies, and some of these were called trusts, and they would get larger and larger and larger. And with that kind of size comes a lot of power and a lot of resources to squash your competition, which wasn't good for our economy and for small businesses and stuff. So wanted to dive into this a little bit and explain my view on it, and why it's important that we know, and what's we know about it, and what's the issue with it. What's the issue? Why do we even worry about it? What was happening? Why did we care if some of these large, it doesn't affect me, right? I'm not a large company. I go to work, for Joe's hot water heaters or something, so what does it matter, right? Well, they were hindering competition. They were manipulating pricing and creating an imbalanced market, as you can see here. And it was designed to curb that so that we could have fair trade, so that you could start a company, because you may want to go from being an installer to starting your own company, or maybe you already own your own company, and it's not fair that you don't have the opportunity to grow. And what do we need it for? What's the big deal though? Still, again, what do we need it for? Can't we just go battle that on our own? Well, it was the first law that was passed, which was a really big deal. It was the first law that was passed to protect businesses and to reduce some of the activities that were going on that were reducing the competition in it. And why is that relevant? How does that apply to construction contractors? That's always interesting. We all make a living doing this. This is what we do for a living, and we must respect. How does it apply to us? We must respect the rules of the competition. If we don't respect the rules of competition, we're no better than these monopolies that we're trying to take over back in the 1800s. It's still trying to do it a little bit today if we don't have if we didn't have these laws to come into place. So while I am the last person, if anybody knows me, that would be out there saying, let's push for more laws and regulations, there are some laws and regulations that do help our industry and our economy and our businesses as a whole. So this is one that I wholeheartedly support, without a doubt. And we're going to get into a little bit more about, what happens if we disregard those rules. Should we cross the lines? Disregarding these rules, it can lead to severe penalties, both legal and financial. So, not only can you get in trouble and get a slap on the wrist and maybe affect your contracting company, but there could be huge financial ramifications to this, including jail time. So when it comes to the pricing, you do not want to cross the line. And it comes down to, if I'm talking to somebody that's not a competitor, sure, can you mention something like, hey, that's what I charge? Or can you encourage, I think you can even actually say, again, this is just from my experience and my knowledge in it, you can say, hey, I think you should charge this amount of money. But if I don't go into an agreement with somebody to actually do price fixing and things like that, if I don't go into an agreement saying, hey, we're both going to reduce our pricing, I could suggest that somebody lowers their price and they can just not listen to me. And if they don't listen to me, then it's really kind of irrelevant. But if they do, even if it looked like it was interpreted like we had an agreement, you could get into trouble. So you don't want to cross those gray lines, and it's better just to just not discuss it at all. It's crucial to avoid any agreement or understanding among competitors about what rates to charge. Doing it could literally, it could be viewed as price fixing, illegal under the Sherman Act. And again, that is a huge, huge mistake. It's a huge, huge area you don't want to get involved in. So, when you get into the communication do's and don'ts, engaging with competitors on social media and other platforms, it's risky, really, really risky. If you're discussing certain topics, especially if it's pricing, bids, market division. And market division is another thing that if something you don't even want to touch on, you don't even want to be discussing with somebody, much less have some sort of paper trail or some sort of digital trail that you're talking to somebody saying, hey, I'm going to take these customers on this side of the river and you take all the customers on this side of the river. It's illegal. You can't do that. You can't reduce competition. You can't reduce the options that these customers have for calling and making phone calls and getting quotes. You're going to get in trouble for that eventually if for some reason the wrong person finds out this is predatory bidding, and you're not allowed to do that by any means. What are the gray areas? I'd love to have your opinion what these gray areas are. What is it? I would say anything has to do with pricing, like we were just talking about. I'd love to have your input on this, though. Reach out to us. Do something in the comments here. Post something and let us know. And it's generally okay, though. Not every interaction with your competitors is harmful or illegal. I mean, it's generally okay to talk to your competitors. I mean, you can even post your pricing up and things like that. It's not illegal just to do that. But activities like discussing industry standards and practices, those are legal. You can have those. You can participate in trade associations and trade shows. You can do this. But the reason you see everybody gets so skeptical when you start talking about pricing is it's perception. I mean, it can be perceived, and you could be joking and somebody heard this, or somebody could actually follow suit and follow your guidelines and what you're doing. So when it comes to pricing, and me and Sean are going to get into this a little bit deeper, it's really up to you to determine what those pricing are. You can't let people help you determine those pricing. The pricing in Indiana is different than the pricing in Las Vegas for the very same fence, and it's up to you to come up with those. I have to close this thing out in conclusion that it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I think that you need to protect yourself, and absolutely do not want to be on the side of somebody that was helping manipulate the market or do anything like that could put you at risk. Always consult with legal advisor or somebody that fully understands antitrust laws. Don't just go off somebody saying, don't say this, don't do that. You can't say this, you can't say that. Don't even go off of this podcast. Find some legal advice on it. But I'm one of those people who likes to dive in a little bit deeper. And I don't like somebody just saying, hey, don't talk about pricing. It's not that you're breaking any laws. It's not that you're doing anything wrong talking about pricing. You're just doing something wrong if you enter into, whether it's a verbal, written, any kind of agreement to manipulate the market, divide the customers up, do anything. And that might even include somebody that comes into your area and says, hey, it could be a manufacturer, it could be a supplier, it could be anybody says, hey, I'm going to come into this area and I'm going to drive the pricing down so low that I can afford to lose money, and all the other competitors go out, their competitors go out of business, and then they raise it back up. You don't want to be any part of that. You don't want, or competitors say we're going to raise our prices up together. That's also, so it's not always necessarily just raising your price is part of violating the Sherman Act. So stay cautious when you're talking about pricing. And that's why you see us as groups. We don't want to get our group shut down. We don't want to get our companies in trouble. We don't want to get anybody else in trouble. So yes, you can talk about pricing. Just be careful. It's a slippery slope. And that's the reason you see everybody avoiding it. So we're going to go back over to the studio. Sean and Brian are talking about this a little bit more in depth. We're going to take some of your questions and see what's going on. Wow, that guy, man. He is always has a mouthful.
Hat colors or shirt colors, right? Like alter ego, right? But he had some good points. Oh, Brian over there had some good points. Even though
he rambles.
Brian made sure that he took no liability at all with the words that came out of his mouth.
I can always guarantee that's a fact.
What I'm saying is completely my opinion, and you should go vet it out yourself. I get it. And so that has a lot to do with the liability with the groups. Yeah. So yes, I do run a group, and I do delete the price. When people say, how much do you charge per foot, or how much should I charge per foot, normally gets deleted immediately. And that's that liability piece. Like, I don't have time to watch that whole post thread, right? So as soon as that question comes up and I'm not paying attention, there could be a whole thread of guys saying, that's what I charge, this is what we should be charging. And then that slippery slope you mentioned starts to happen. And all of a sudden, I'm guilty because it's in my group and I had zero to do with it, right? And I don't want the liability. I don't want the liability. Now, I also believe, Brian, you and I talked about the fact that to help our industry, I think is more important than the Sherman. I'm more worried about helping our industry than I am the Sherman Act. I really believe the reason why we should not just blatantly ask what we should be charging is because that's setting you up for failure. If we don't teach you how to fish and we just give you the fish, as soon as you leave, you starve, right? Yep. So if we teach you how to understand what you should be charging based on your cost, the profit margins you want to make, the overhead that you have, then you can go to war. Yeah. And you can control your pricing all you want, right?
Yep.
And I think that's the most important piece is people get stuck on, is it or is it not illegal? And just like you said, yes, it can be illegal, but just saying I charge X per foot isn't necessarily illegal. Yep. It's getting a group of people to collaborate and all agree to charge that in an area. That is completely illegal. We all agree. And so the first step in that direction is the first state that Sean King charges this. And if I do that, I promise I will influence people in the industry that says, well, Sean charges X. I'm going to charge that. And that's not illegal on its face. 100% I agree. That is not illegal. But that is going one step closer to getting us to illegal. And at what cost, Brian? Why do we do it? Why? Why in the first place would we even do that? There's no advantage. If you have no idea what to charge, I'll tell you right now, I told you earlier, Brian, we talked, I will help anybody in our industry with a quick phone call, email, text. I will help anybody for free and tell you a formula or the things that you should be paying attention to. I won't tell you the price, but you got material costs, you've got labor costs, you have overhead costs, and you have profit. You figure out what your material cost is, your labor cost is, what profit you want to make, your overhead, and there's your price.
I like that you said that, because I've been there when you've taken these phone calls from people calling you and asking you questions 100%. Like that. And I've seen you step away 30 minutes on a phone call and helping somebody do that. And
I got one I need to take today. I haven't called back yet. There's a company that's messaged me twice. I've been very busy digging holes. But Mrs. Fence has messaged me. There is a Mrs. Fence company out there, and they have some questions. You bet your ass I'm going to call them back. And if they ask me, how should I price? I'm going to say these are the things you should consider. Yeah, these are things I did not consider.
The reason I wanted to do this podcast and why, obviously we were talking about it, and why it was important to me was because I think our industry has done a great job putting out more and more education, even now than has been in the past. But we've also done a great job just telling people, know your numbers. Know your numbers. Okay, we're not going to help you. You know what? No, don't take us price. Just know your numbers. Well, some companies have no idea how to figure that out, what you're talking about. Know your numbers, and we don't do a good enough job explaining them how to figure that out. And there's simple ways to do it, and there's more complex ways if you want to get more detailed. But we got to put more information out there to somebody that just started off on how to get those numbers and how to get to those numbers. But we're quick to say, build that gate per this standard, know your numbers, do this, and then we just send them out and say you're doing it all wrong. And I'd like to see us as a whole get to the point where, if we're going to tell somebody to know this or do that, that we should at least be able to back that up with, this is how you do it.
Well, so saying something like know your numbers is kind of a cop out bullshit answer, right? Like what value does that give to anybody? Know your numbers. Like what exactly are we trying to tell them? Right. Yeah. So there's more to the story. What numbers should I watch? How should I measure those numbers? Why should I be looking at those numbers? Right. So I'd be careful with, we say know your numbers, I think too much. I'm guilty of saying, I've said it, know your numbers, but the reality, you stop and think about it. Look about a brand new fence company. And I've met several that have never built a fence. They come in our industry, they're brand new, and they hear know your numbers. What do you think that means to them? Yeah. Like, it's just what numbers?
Yeah.
Tell me what to measure.
Yeah. It's almost patronizing in a way. It really is. It's like, it's to the point where you don't even want to listen to that person anymore, and you feel like they're talking down to you when somebody says something like that to you, and you have no idea what they're talking about. I block it out, and maybe you do less of a good job trying to track those numbers after that, or you just say, I'm going to do it differently than that guy, and I'm just going to take the materials and labor and come up with a percentage that I mark it up. And they don't ever really get to that point where they're knowing their numbers, because they were turned off by it once we started doing it. So so I think that we got to come up with something we can tell people, this is a good formula to do it and figure it out. And it's a big difference between one truck and 3 trucks. I mean, when I'm running 6 trucks, the daily rate that I would charge for my truck is half of what I would charge if it was 3 trucks. So it's a huge difference, and you got to be able to help somebody figure that out.
I think just understanding that they need to, at the basics, the 4 buckets. I've preached this for many, many years. You can make this as complicated as you want, but at the end of the day, in our industry, we have material, we have labor, we have overhead, and we have profit. So if you can just know what those numbers are going to be per job, you're going to have to figure out what you have to go buy to build Mrs. Jones' fence. What type of time it's going to take to build Mrs. Jones' fence. And then the hardest one for people to understand is that there is a thing called overhead, whether you believe it or not. 1 truck or 50 trucks. A lot of the guys at 1 truck don't see overhead. They just don't, they can't wrap their mind around it, right? 50 trucks, those guys probably understand overhead pretty well, right? But at one truck, it's hard to see. Even two trucks, it's hard to see. And most of the time, they don't understand the depth of overhead. It goes a lot deeper than a lease payment, or it goes a lot deeper than insurance costs. There's a lot of costs just to get into the game, right? Just to play the game. Things that we don't really put our finger on that add up. So having extra money in your quote to cover overhead means that you're not taking out a profit. I hear too many guys say, cotton labor material was X. That means leftover, I made profit. And that to me makes my heart sink, because no, there's not a single company that I've ever met, Brian, that has zero overhead.
Yep.
Ever. Yeah. So when you say materials and labor cost is X and now I made this much profit, I'm gonna say bullshit.
How do you think it's affected it? Things are different now than they were 5 years ago. And I remember I used to think I still think COVID was like last year, but it was like what, 4 or 5 years ago, right?
You gotta stop using that excuse. That ship has sailed.
I know, but I'm just saying, what do I mean, the labor force might be a little bit different and bringing people in, and sometimes, obviously we're rebuilding our office staff up and all that stuff. And do you think that people have as qualified of office bookkeepers and staff and people as they used to have in 2019? So, and how would that affect you knowing your numbers? Like, we may know how to get to our numbers, but we may not have people that are qualified to actually keep track of all that for you. So you think that's changing? That's changing, why there's more people that don't know?
I think the other side of the token is, I also believe we demand more from our members, our team members, and we're diving further into the numbers. So the team member that was capable of doing it 4 years ago would fall short now. And then you're talking about the fact that we were finding less people than we found before that had the talent. So it's going two different directions. It's getting more complicated, or we're wanting more in-depth numbers, and we have less qualified people. So it wasn't like this. It went whoop. Yep. Opposite directions. I think there's a little bit of both happening. Yeah. That people are working elsewhere, or they're in a different industry, or not. They're not readily available in our industry, right? Yeah. And then look at where we've been the last 4 or 5 years in our industry. I can confidently say we have raised the bar in our industry as a whole, across the board, as far as people that are watching their business as a business and less as a guy who builds fence. There's more people in our industry that are looking at this as a financial, a business. Let's make some money. There's more people focused on that, which in turn means that we need higher caliber people to help manage that piece, right? Yeah. It's just not going to be a guy in a truck that pays no attention to. His goal is just build fence every day and doesn't realize if he is or is not making money. So we've done a great job in the last 4 or 5 years. Yep. I mean, look at the caliber of companies that are coming out. Like it was, I don't remember. Yeah. I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. I don't remember a time where we had this caliber of fence companies across the nation.
Yeah. And it's access to information. It's access to more education, more training. Yep. There's just more available, more resources. I think that's what's really driving everything up. And everybody in our industry right now is stepping up their game from right down from the installers to the consultants 100%. To the associations to the shows to the 100%. Resources, everything on our podcast, you name it. I can't think of anything in our industry that
the quality of product we're putting out is better than second to none. We've been doing for years. I think we're putting out a great product across the country. I think that we have great individuals in our industry with the right motivation, the right talents, the right attitudes. Yeah. I believe we're definitely moving in the right direction as a whole across the board, and that has to do with that communication. I believe that we have access to so much information. We have people come in our industry, Brian. I have firsthand experience of meeting people coming in our industry that have never been in any construction industry, that are coming into our industry and thriving in less than a year. Thriving, like absolutely blowing me out of the water. What took me 15 years, they do in their first year, right? Yeah. There's more of that happening right now than I think we've ever had. And I also think that, the clientele or caliber of individual we're attracting to our industry is changing, because the fence industry looks pretty attractive, right? Yep. So if you look at this from the outside, there's a demand for fence that it will always be there. Yep. Okay. Security, safety, privacy, aesthetics. It's not going away. The first
Criminals,
line of
dogs, and
defense for our
children.
military is fence, for God's sakes, right? It's not going away. And I think that people in other industries are starting to look over at the fence industry and go, wait a minute. You mean to tell me this whole time there's this fence industry over here that no one's messed with the entire time, right? Franchises and private equities are in. Why do you think they're all over us now?
Yeah.
Because there's a honey hole in the fence industry. And somebody told me a statistic that I can't vet this to be true. Sounds impressive. We're a $9 billion industry, and in the next 10 years, going to go to 18 billion.
I heard it was higher.
Well, but even that's doubling our size in 10 years. You think we did that in the last 50 years?
Yeah.
No way. No way. So we have the attention of people outside of our industry, private equity, franchises. There's multiple franchises already, and there will be more. There's conglomerates. There's guys that are putting locations everywhere, and so So the downfall of this is, if you continue running your fence business the way you always have, maybe the last 30 years, and you're one or two trucks, things might get a little more difficult for you because competition is going to get a little bit more aggressive. Does that make sense? They're going to raise the bar, and the cost may not go up with that equally, right? So they may have better competitive prices, better product, and you need to know your numbers and figure that out. Like, what are your costs and what profit margin do you want to make for what effort it takes you?
Maybe you need to stop teaching people to build better fences. Maybe you're part of the problem. You know what I mean? And that way we can keep everything at a quiet level. Nobody wants in, and we can all continue making money.
Yeah, tell me, that's some antitrust shit right there. We got to shut Sean King down.
That's it.
He's helping all the little guys and big guys. I mean, that's the thing.
Get a position.
I coached a company the other day, had a brand new fence company, one employee, one team member. And then I've coached, the same week, a company that has 30 crews. Yeah. Right. So both sides. Yes, the big companies like, wait, why are you teaching little guys how to make more money? And then the big guys are upset, like I'm teaching them how to be more productive, which now the other big guys are like, wait a minute, that's not fair, right? Yeah, I know. But it is fair, and it raises the bar. Competition is what we need, because that makes all of us better, right? So if we didn't have competition, and that's why this whole antitrust thing is so important. We need good competition. It holds all of us accountable. I'm not the only coach in our industry, and that's great. I'm not the only, consultant in our industry. Perfect. That's great, because if I was, I would eventually become lazy, and I wouldn't continue driving forward, right? But you bet your ass I'm working my ass off to make sure I'm staying ahead of the curve, right? Well, what do you think my competition's doing?
Same thing.
And so who wins?
Everybody, the whole industry.
Everybody, right? So that mindset there is the same thing for the fence business, the installing portion of it, right? Getting fence on the ground, selling fence materials. We need that competition, because that is what makes this thing move forward. Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. That's absolutely true. But we need to be held accountable and checked sometimes, right? Being lazy, getting tired, you need to get checked, because as soon as you take a breath, there's a Kevin Poole that's going to stomp all over you right out there.
I know, because he don't sleep.
He don't sleep, right? He's coming for you, right? He works a full-time job and builds some badass fence on the side, right?
I'm happy to see it. Yeah, I'm happy to see how much energy there is. It keeps me going, man. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. I know I'm just on my phone and I'm seeing everybody just posting pictures, commenting, and it just energizes me.
I knew you didn't sleep. I knew damn well, because I'm getting like 3 hours, and I go to sleep, you're online, and when I wake up, you're online, and I'm like, there's no way this son bitch is sleeping. You got some sort of special pill.
Yeah, like you're one to talk. You got videos and stuff going on top. Yeah. And this has been fun, taking over My Fence Life, hosting that show as well. So now, we're going to be on here more, and just so everybody knows, we're going to be doing a lot more in the field videos showing, and we're going to be interviewing some installers in the field as well, instead of just talking to us boring old business owners and consultants and guys that run associations. And you can only see our faces so much before you probably just tune us out.
Oh, the real heroes are the ones out there building fence every day, right?
Yeah.
So we need to go have conversations with them and talk about their fence life. Right?
I want to interview some other people that are crazy enough to go out and dig holes with us, because right?
I had about 4 of them with me today, right? They weren't real happy about it, but they were getting it. They thought this gringo was crazy, right? Digging 2 to 1 to there. But that'd be a great conversation to have. Now today there was quite the language barrier. I don't know. I'm embarrassed. I don't know Spanish to save my ass. I can say tacos, enchiladas, and andale.
Yeah.
So there was language barrier today. I need an interpreter to interview some of these guys, because some of the guys in our industry don't speak English, but yet they have a lot of experience, a lot of talents, a lot of things to share, right?
Yeah.
I need some of them fancy earbuds that you can. I think they were talking shit about me all day.
No, I know they were.
Every
time you walked away.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, we getting done today? They said that a couple times. Like, yeah, we're getting done today. No. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah.
See you tomorrow. Thanks.
This shit's getting done.
Yeah.
I hire hell water. But I think the interviews in the field with the real fence life, the people that are living it and breathing it in the trenches, we need to share those stories.
And we're gonna be doing something unique coming up in the next couple episodes. We're gonna be doing some live streams from your training classes as well. So that's gonna be kind of exciting, and vice versa inside of our training going on over here. So you're gonna be able to see some training going on the East and the West Coast all at the same time, popping in and out. I'm looking forward to some of that. I know I promised you I'd keep this at 30-40 minutes. So you got dinner plans, I heard. And I got to
eat at some point. My wife's like, you better damn well eat, right? So,
yeah.
I got 10 minutes and then I got to get out, but you're right. She's like, you are eating, you are drinking, right? I feel like, Heather's not with me on this trip. I'm on my own, right?
Oh man.
Oh yeah. This is like,
my wife she's flying. She just drove down to California. She's going to fly out at midnight. I think she's going to Mexico to see her mom. So I'm the same. And of course, without her here, I don't leave. It's it's the craziest thing. I'm here right now, and I'll just sit here till 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I think they keep us alive.
We got something wrong with us. That's for damn sure. We were bitten with the fit.
What are you gonna do with all this free time?
I got a lot of shit I can go do.
I'm gonna call Sean. I'm gonna make some videos.
So I'm gonna play last night I spent like an hour and a half or 2 hours sitting on a balcony, and I dreamed up a complete new way of how to build aluminum gates, vinyl gates, and wood gates. And we're already have Instagates, and I'm like, yeah, scrap all that shit. What if we do da? What if? Oh my God! What if? And I'm throwing on a napkin, and I'm thinking to myself, like, that's not right, is it? Like, I called my office and I told Al, like, what I want to do. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? I haven't even finished the last one you talked about. Like, yeah, scrap all that shit. Here's what we need to do. We don't have extrusion for that. I know, but we can get that. We get this. We get this. Buy this machine. Boom, boom. That's what
I researched aluminum welders a couple nights ago. Keep in mind, I've never done an aluminum fence in my life, but I think one, right? So we don't do aluminum, we do steel, right? So I researched aluminum welders all night long, and then when I got back to the shop the next day, I started talking to our welder, and I wanted to drill him. Hey, you think you could weld some? I have no reason to do this, right? I'm like, so what do you think of this? I even printed it out. What do you think of this welder, this aluminum to the big welder?
That's so funny, because I did the same damn thing about 3 weeks ago. I mean, we got to buy an aluminum welder for us, for the kits, right? So I don't know shit about this. I asked my welder which one, and of course he tells me the one. It's like 15 grand. I'm like, bro, we don't need a $15,000 welder for what we're gonna do.
But that's the coolest looking welding I've ever seen. I mean, it's that shiny. You've seen it, right? Yeah. You see that. You watch a video and you watch that bead, and you're just going, man, I want to do that. I want to build a dune buggy rack or something. I don't know. Yeah. I just want to build something out of aluminum for no reason. We
literally, with the new gate design thing I was talking about last night. Today, I was trying to buy a Dragon 400. Like, that's what Matt Warner has, that badass machine. You feed it with a pipe and it just cuts everything for you.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, we need that. We need that. And my team's like, where were you going to put it? I don't know. Like, empty this shit out of the shop and you put it on the other side.
Yeah.
We're going to
build this
thing for everybody.
Did you see the unhinged thing that came out?
It's coming.
I got the box. Did you get a box?
I got the box, but I'm waiting on my new box. My box, my box, my box, my box went the rough route. How about that? So, when we opened the box, it wasn't in one piece anymore.
Oh man, my box was
like
sealed either. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing, but had everything in it. Maybe someone in the front opened it, but that's weird.
What? No, mine was crushed.
Oh.
Yeah,
you got to get a new one.
I'm saying my box was run over by the competition or something. I don't know. Right?
That is too funny. Yeah, it was cool. I scanned the QR codes. I got to let everybody know, man. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be really cool. Matt's going to hit a home run.
Coming. I got a message from Rachel today. That's next Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Is it? Yeah.
Tuesday is. I believe they're going to have a live event. I want to misspeak right now. Let me just check. I have a text from her. Let's see, Rachel.
Yeah, she was messaging me earlier too about it. So yeah, I was gonna.
She said Tuesday would be what? We're airing Unhinged on Tuesday. They are airing Unhinged on Tuesday.
Nice.
Not what's today? Wednesday. Shit.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna recap it, and then I'll recap it on Wednesday for anybody that missed it on Tuesday. I'll do a quick recap on Unhinged.
How cool is that? You talk about the cool things in our industry that are happening right now. That is an awesome idea that the team at Empire, right? Matt Warner and the team and Rachel and My Salesman have come up with a way to get information to our industry delivered differently than a podcast or a magazine or Sean King screaming at you on the damn YouTube video or TikTok, right? They've taken the time to put learning nuggets into a story.
Yep. That's crazy, huh?
First thing I thought of is, how do you have the time and the patience to even fathom that idea?
Somebody, I don't know who. I'm going to talk to him one day about how he wrote all that, or if that's a team of people helping write it. I'll probably never get that information out of him 100%.
He told me he did have to hire a badass team.
Yeah.
That to pull that off, right? This is not fence guys and girls writing this.
Yeah.
These are talented people that are taking our industry. They're not from our industry and writing this content.
Yeah. It'd be like you and I trying to write one of those. And then Billy went to the hardware store and bought some concrete. Hey, Billy.
Billy, are you going to mix that concrete, Billy? And we go down a whole damn tangent.
We go on and on and on.
You're stuck on whether it's dry or wet.
Right. It would just turn into a debate, and they'd be like, all they did was talk about pounding posts for like 30 minutes. We still don't even understand
with concrete.
It'd be the worst.
We went to go buy concrete, and we're talking about pounding posts for the next hour. I mean, that's
it would be like 4 episodes of the concrete mystery, they'd call it. It'd be like, what happened to his concrete? It was missing. Yeah.
Did they pound the concrete in the ground? I don't know. Where did the concrete
Hey, man, thank you for coming on, man, and doing this with me. Any last thoughts on the antitrust thing before we go?
No, I think you will. You hit the nail on the head. It's not the fact that we can't say what you charge per foot. It is absolutely, that's the first step to getting engagement of what we should all be charging per foot. And that is where we start getting illegal, right? So for me, it's a liability issue. I don't want to have a lot of that. Plus, it's more important that you learn how to price it properly, like learn how to fish.
Yep.
I'm not going to give you the fish, right?
Yep.
I'm afraid that we get people to be influenced. If we start throwing numbers per foot up, oh, well, that's what Sean charges. I'm going to charge that. That's not good. That's not good for anybody. So, no, I don't think that the price up there is going to send anybody to jail. But we could if we took it further and start collaborating. So that I think you did a great job of talking about this, because when we just respond in a comment or a text, there's not enough conversation to understand where we're going with this, and just tell people that it's wrong and illegal. They ask questions. Well, what part of it's illegal? Well, the collaboration part and moving eliminating competition is where you start getting illegal, right?
Yeah. And I think we didn't do a good enough job explaining it's not just talking about price. It could be talking about dividing customers up. Or territories, things like this. It's a slippery slope, and so if you get one of your comments deleted or you don't get a post approved, it's not even that we don't agree with you.
Yep.
Give us a phone call. I don't know, but it's not that we just can't have these threads go on for And for some reason, those threads get the most traction.
Holy
and
shit.
if we approve a comment, we go eat dinner and come back, and there's 8,000 comments, and somewhere in it there's a violation. We guarantee you. And we just try to avoid it. So keep posting. We love all your posts. We love all the engagement. Don't get offended if we can't let something through. It's not that we don't love you. It's just we're too tired to watch the entire thread go on for 2 days.
That's it. Absolutely. I cannot vet every damn comment. These things, there's a lot of great content on our pages now. Okay. So help us out.
Yep. And just, if it's price related, keep it to a minimal. Don't do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Go get some food. I'm going to go get some food. Hey, hang on a second. I'm going to bring Susan on here. Watch.
No,
Susan's been here the whole time.
It's like, oh.
I knew you were going to do that to me.
For everybody, say goodbye to Susan. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to pull any of this off anyway. She's been the one bringing up all the comments and connecting to all the stuff in the back end. So we will see you guys next week. Sean, get some rest. Susan, thanks.
All right. Bye, guys.
See ya.